Welcome back to another Trade for a Living Trader's Tip. We're getting into Trader's Tip number 7. We're going to answer the question, what are stock options? Well, let's start with a very basic definition of stock options. Here's what the basic definition is. A stock option gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a specific stock for a specific price on or before a specific date. Now, that's a little bit of a long definition there, but that is what the definition of an option is. So it gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a specific stock for a specific price on or before a specific date. Now, without getting into all the details, what I want to do is I want to go straight into how an option works a little bit and just kind of give you the conceptual idea of what a stock option actually is. And one of the easiest ways to describe this is to actually leave the world of stock and go over to something else that's similar but a little bit different. And so for this example, I'm going to look at a real estate opportunity. So let's talk about Bill here. You see Mr. Bill, he's got a 3-bedroom house for sale, and he's asking $200,000 for it. Now, what you don't know is Bill's been sitting on this house for a long time. He bought it back in 2006. He watched the market run up to a big high. He had all this equity in it, and then before he knew it, 2008 happened. The whole thing collapsed, and now he's just trying to get his money back out of it. But the market has been a little stagnant for him, and the house has been sitting on the market for about 8 or 9 months at $200,000. Nobody wants to buy it. And then along comes Joe. And Bill hears that Joe might want to buy the house. So he says, "Hey, Joe, I understand you might want to buy my house, but you're not quite ready today." And Joe says to him, "Yeah, I might want to buy your house, so I want you to take it off the market and don't sell it to anybody else, and I'll come back." What do you think Bill's going to say? "Nah, there's no way I'm going to take it off the market. You need to give me some money, give me a security deposit or something." But Joe doesn't want to obligate himself. So Joe says to Bill, he says, "Right, I was thinking maybe I could pay you to not sell your house. If I give you $5,000, will you hold your house for me for 3 months?" Now, here's the way the deal's going to go. Joe's going to give Bill $5,000. So there's $5,000 that gets transferred over to Mr. Bill over here. And Bill becomes obligated to sell the house. Who's he obligated to sell it to? He's obligated to sell it to Joe, but Joe is not obligated. Joe now has the right, but not the obligation, to buy the house. Do you see what's happened here? Joe has given Bill a premium of $5,000. Bill is now obligated to sell the house to Joe. What if somebody else comes along and offers $250,000? Well, Joe has paid Bill to not sell the house. Bill doesn't have the right to sell it to somebody else. Bill is obligated to sell it to Joe sometime in the next 3 months if Joe wants to. But Joe has the right, but not the obligation to buy it. You see what's happened here? Joe has just purchased himself an option. The right, but not the obligation to buy the house. All right, now let's take that idea and let's transfer it over to stock. So while they're closing the deal on the house, Mr. Bills asks Joe, "Hey, Joe, why are you moving to Florida?" And Joe says, "Well, my wife wants to be down here and I trade the stock market, so it doesn't matter where I work." And Bill says, "Hey, you trade? That's awesome. I learned to trade too. In fact, I've got some railroad stock that I'm about to sell. Would you be interested in it? I'd like to get $100 a share for it." You see what's going to happen here? Joe says to Mr. Bill, "Wow, Mr. Bill, that's great. I've been watching the railroad. I've been thinking I might want to buy it, but not today. Could I pay you $5 a share," there's the premium, "to lock in the price of $100, and if I come back, I'll buy it from you. If I don't, then no big deal, you keep your stock." You see what Joe's done? He's going to pay $5 per share to Bill. Bill's going to get the money, the $5 per share premium. Bill is now going to be obligated to sell his railroad stock at $100 a share to Joe. Joe has the right, if he wants to buy the railroad shares. It's the exact same deal that Joe did with the house, but now he's doing it with the railroad. Joe has purchased himself an option. See how that works? So let's watch what happened here. Let's look at the deal just a little bit closer. Specifically, what Joe purchased is he purchased what we call a call option. The call option gives Joe the right to buy the stock at a specific price. Okay, so here's the deal that they did. Joe now has the right to buy the railroad at a certain price of $100 a share in exchange for a premium of $5 a share by a certain date, and I did an arbitrary 3 months on this deal. So we've got the right, but not the obligation to buy. There's the option itself, a specific stock, the right to buy the railroad stock for a specific price. There's $100 per share on or before a specific date, and they do that in exchange for a premium. This is what we call a stock option. It gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy the specific stock at a specific price on or before a specific date. So here's what just happened here. Joe has purchased the right to buy. He does not own the stock. He owns the right to buy the stock. Bill still owns his stock, but Bill has received $5 a share in exchange for Joe getting the right to buy. So Bill receives $5 a share, gives Joe the right to buy. Joe pays $5 a share to Bill. Bill's making the money. Joe's getting control of the stock. Joe now has the right to buy at 100 if he wants to. Bill has already agreed to sell at 100 if Joe wants to. You see what's happened? Joe has control. That's why people like to use stock options, because it gives them control of the stock. Now, what happens if the 3 months comes and goes? Well, if the 3 months comes and goes and Joe doesn't come back to buy the stock, well, Bill's going to keep his $5 per share. Either way, Bill gets to keep his $5 per share. Joe, if time runs out, he's going to lose his $5 per share, or maybe he's got another plan for it. But that's the basic idea of how a stock option works. Now, there's a lot more that goes into it than that, and of course, we've got some great training for that. If you want to learn more, there's a couple ways you can do that. Number one, you can watch some more of these trader tips. I'll have some more options trading tips coming up for you that will explain some more details of how stock options work. But if you really want to fast track it, head on over to TradeSmartU.com and get on all access pass to some of our training over there with a TradeSmart membership. You can have access to anything you want to know pretty much about stock options, hundreds of hours of training regarding stock options, regarding stock trading, analysis. All of it is on demand, immediately available for one monthly price right now. So head on over to www.tradesmartu.com. Just head on over there and you can go ahead and have access to several videos, sign up for membership and whatnot, and get access to all the training that you need. If you enjoy this video, share it, pass it along to your friends, and watch some more trader tips, of course, from Trade for a Living. And until next time, happy trading.